just watching it go.
That's cool.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Sloan, and I want to welcome you to the Inspirational Influencer News, People Making a Difference. This afternoon, we have a very, very interesting guest, Janice Burt, who is also known as Spanish Janice. And I spend a lot of time in Spanish-speaking countries, and most Spanish-speaking people don't look like Janice, but she speaks fluent Spanish, and I'm sure she'll tell you why. She's a court-certified Spanish interpreter. She's a voiceover artist. She's an actress. She's a yoga instructor. She's an author and an inspirational speaker. You might ask, how does she, and does she ever sleep? I don't know, but she'll tell us that too. Her purpose in life is to encourage, uplift, and unite people through the power of words and an example of authenticity, action, and love. You can find her and find out more about her at Janice Burt, that's B as in Bob, U-R-T as in Tom.com. So Janice, how did you get started into this really, really interesting, very full, very what looks like complicated life?
Hello, Mary. Thank you so much for having me here. I love talking about life and living our best lives. And I actually never thought in a million years that I would be doing all of these crazy fun things that I'm doing right now. Actually, for the beginning part of my life, up until like 35 years old, I lived very much in a place of fear, and fear literally felt like a prison that was just, I was trapped by it. And I felt like I was making every decision in my life based from this place of fear and from this prison. And it was all the fears, fear of not being, oh, we're recording in progress. Fear of not being liked, fear of being judged, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. And all of those fears just held me back. So I faced one of my biggest fears, which was losing my relationship. I got married really young. I was 20 years old. And I was very codependent in my marriage. We were married for 14 years and have 2 beautiful kids. But I completely lost myself in that relationship. And we went through a divorce about 10 years ago. And that was my absolute rock bottom, like worst case scenario, super painful moment, which I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to in your own lives, some type of experience that's just really painful. And I hit rock bottom, and laying there, crying on the bathroom floor, I thought, man, I'm really good at blaming other people. I'm really good at this victim mentality, like, oh, look what's happened to me, look what all, like that kind of a thing. And it's not serving me. I'm miserable. I feel horrible. I feel stuck. And I'm the common denominator in my life. So what the heck's going on, And I started, first of all, came the awareness of the fear that was holding me back. Because before then, I don't even think I knew that I was living from this place of fear. It was this subconscious, unconscious fear. So when I became aware of it, I was like, wait a minute, I need to walk through all of my fears so that they are not controlling me anymore, so that I'm in control of my life. And one of the first things I did is I joined Toastmasters, which I'm not sure, Mary, if you've heard of them, but it's a public speaking.
Been there.
You've been there, done that? Well, it's amazing. It's a great organization. And I joined it so that I could walk through the fear of public speaking. Because when I was a teenager, I actually competed in speech contests in my high school, and I did pretty well. But I forgot the lines in one of my speech competitions and lost the speech contest. And from that moment on, I didn't speak publicly again because I was so terrified that I would forget what I was supposed to say and lose, and have that judgment and that feeling of failure. So I just didn't speak publicly. So Toastmasters helped me start to speak again. And I also signed up to run a marathon because I felt like that was impossible. How do people run for 26 something miles was beyond me. But people were doing it, and people who were way older than me, people who had disabilities were running these marathons. And I'm thinking, well, I could train, I could do that. I could prove to myself that through consistent action, I can achieve something that seems impossible. So I did that. I self-published a book kind of talking about my story because I felt like there was a lot of hush hush kind of stuff from my past, that these secrets felt like poison to my soul. And so I decided I want to be free from that. So I'm going to put it all out there. I'm going to open myself up. I'm going to be vulnerable and literally just show up and be seen. I also started interpreting in Spanish because I used to live in Mexico when I was a little girl. So I learned Spanish when I was younger, and I love the language. I think it's amazing and beautiful, and the culture and the people. It's like my second home. And so I started interpreting in Spanish, and I started doing voiceover work. I started acting because that was something when I was a kid that I loved, that I was terrified to go and audition. So I never did until I was walking through all my fears and doing everything that scared me, to death to do. I competed in a bodybuilding competition. So I just did things that scared me. And it really helped, not just with my confidence and self esteem, but it helped me to see how powerful each of us truly are. And yeah,
What I find amazing about what you did, I mean, not only that you did it, that was amazing, but the thing that I found most amazing is that you did it and kept doing it all on your own, that you had enough fortitude and enough, I don't know, just certainty that you could. And I guess it came from, a childhood where you had been pretty successful doing a lot of things, and you could tap back into that. But it is so unusual for people to be able to walk through one or two fears, never mind, oh, well, I mean, you walked through everybody's most highest fears. Oh my God, I could never public speak. Oh my God, I could never write a book. Oh my God, I could never speak a foreign language. And it is the fact that we settle for so little that, is really sad, I think,
yes.
because we don't test who we are. We never push ourselves to try to do more. And I too had to deal with fear. I found I was fearful of a lot of things and decided that I would drop that and start doing a lot of things that I was afraid of. I really didn't think I would ever be doing this and getting all this technology set up. And, I'm known as the techie grandma, and my children come to me for their tech questions. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? You grew up with this. I didn't. Why are you asking me? And so, it's really very challenging to deal with that fear. And someone who I really admire teaches a lot about fear. And she has these circles of fear. And we all have our comfort zone. And then around that comfort zone, we have a little bit of a stretch zone where, you could do the next big thing. And then there's well, I could go into this stretch zone, but no, 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 no. The next one, yeah, that's just a little too much over the top. And then there's the die zone. Oh no, if I ever did that, I definitely would die. Well, you seem to go from a comfort zone that was really, really, really tiny to, okay, I'm just going for it, full out. I'm going to conquer all of them. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Mary. And here's what I want people to know is there's so much freedom on the other side of our fears. And it's something I keep doing because I see the benefits in my own life and how I feel emotionally, mentally, by facing these fears and stepping outside of my comfort zone. It has just transformed me. And I want that for every single person. I want people to feel free and joyful and happy to be alive and like grateful that we get to experience this life. And it is a roller coaster life. It's not all like happy good times. Like even when I've walked through my fears, for instance, the Toastmaster thing, I think it was my second speech in Toastmasters, and I started shaking violently, like convulsing practically, because I was so terrified to be up there speaking again. And I looked over and I saw the chair, and that was my comfort zone, right? I was like, oh, if I could just sit down and stop shaking and looking like a fool, this would be great. But I knew that if I sat down, the fear would have won again. And I am not willing to let fear lock me up, imprison me, because that is what it is. And everybody is meant to live this amazing, adventurous, exciting life. So if there's one purpose that I'm here for on this earth is just to encourage people, even if it's through me failing and looking like a fool, that like, it's okay. I shook, but I didn't die. Nobody stopped talking to me. As a matter of fact, people came up to me after that speech and said, thank you, Janice, for standing there and shaking, because I sweat or I stutter or I shake too when I speak. And they all had their stories of their own fear. And we just need permission to be vulnerable, to not be perfect, to be ourselves, and to be seen.
And I think that's what you can really bring to the party, and so can I. And I encourage you to think about coaching. I'm sure you're coaching your kids, but I mean, so many people have so much to offer the world, and they're stopped by their fear. And they're not stopped by their fear. They allow that fear to stop them, because the truth is, fear is not really real. And you can take it with you. I remember when I had my youngest son, and he was 3, and we had started him skiing. And I had no problem going down the hills, but then we were going to jump on a chairlift and go up the chairlift. And he said to me, "Oh, Mom, I'm scared." I said, "That's okay. You can have your fear, but we're going to go get on the chairlift anyway." And he kind of puzzled that, and then he said, "Yeah, you can be afraid, and we can do it. Okay, it's not an or thing. It's a yeah, have your fear, and you can do it." And I mean, he's become a very bold young man. And I think it's understanding that you don't have to get rid of your fear in order to do something. You have to say, "Okay, fear, we're going to do it. Have a good time. Hope you enjoy it, because this is what we're going to do anyway." And you give so much power to other people by being willing to step into that void, because so many people get stopped, completely stopped by that fear. And then they don't know what to do. And it's like, you can't get rid of it. I mean, I don't think it ever really absolutely goes away. Every time I'm setting up to do this meeting, I'm going, okay, what am I going to forget? Oh my God, I'm so, and a guest is a little bit late and I'm like, oh God, didn't they get the link? And, so the fear is still there. It's not gone away. It's just that I know I'm going to do it anyway. And so it's going to be what it is, right?
Totally. And it does, I would say it gets easier if we do, like, for instance, Spanish interpreting. When I first interpreted in a courtroom, I was terrified. There's the judge, there's defendants and plaintiffs and people, and I had to swear in, right? Every time the interpreter has to swear in that they're going to interpret to the best of their ability. So it's my first time swearing in a courtroom setting. And the judge or the court reporter asks me to lift my right hand. Well, obviously I have a shaking thing. That's how my body shows fear, because I lift my hand up and it's like, I mean, like I'm waving, to the people. So I literally had to use my other hand, hold my right hand up, right? And swear to interpret to the best of my ability. And it was pretty evident that I was terrified, I would think. And that's how it was for the first, oh my gosh, dozen or more times. But once I continually went into the courtroom again and again, you kind of know what to expect, then the fear will slowly kind of start to go down. But that's what I mean. It's a daily process of continuing to walk through fear, because something can be really scary and then we do it enough, we get comfortable, it's fine. Well, there's always other things. Like, for instance, in 2 months, 2 or 3 months, I'm going to Vegas because another woman sponsored me to compete in a 40s plus beauty pageant in Vegas, which is hilarious because that scares me to death. I was a tomboy growing up. I never wore dresses. I wasn't super feminine. So that to me is like, whoa, this is crazy. But it was an opportunity that kind of fell in my lap. And I don't want to say no to it because it scares me. Because it scares me, I don't want to say no. So there's always opportunities to grow and stretch ourselves. And I say, take them. Take them every time. You will not regret it. You'll grow, you'll get stronger, you'll learn things from it. It's amazing.
Well, and it must be wonderful for your children to have someone who understands their fear, because they have fears. They're little people and they're trying every day. It's a new thing, a new thing, a new thing, a new thing, a super new thing, another new thing. And, I'm sure they have times where it's absolutely terrifying for them. I have a granddaughter who, at 2, she started climbing rocks, big rocks, and she would climb up. And then she'd get up there and it's like, okay, how do I get down now? And fortunately, Grandma was there to make sure that we could come down. And she's never got over her rock climbing thing. And when she was going to preschool and parents would show up and say, she's up, and the teacher would go, yeah, I know. What are you going to do about it?
Oh my gosh. Well, and there is an element of therapy too called exposure therapy, I believe, where in certain instances to get over fear, you slowly expose the person to their fears instead of hiding away and trying to ignore it or not face it. it's slowly, and I'm all about baby steps. I am not one to overwhelm myself even or tell somebody else that they should feel just so overwhelmed. I do like taking baby steps, and I feel like with enough baby steps, when you look back at whatever, you achieve this result and you can look back and go, wow, it was just all of those little baby steps that led to this big thing. So yeah.
Running a marathon, you mentioned you run marathons. Well, you don't start out running a marathon.
Right.
You don't just kind of, okay, I'm going out for my first 26-mile run. No, you aren't, because you die.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point before about me being able to have the fortitude to do all this stuff, I will say, I mean, I take a little bit of credit for just my determination, I guess, but also I never have done any of these things without a tribe or a team or a mentor or being around people that inspire me and where they go, hey, I did this, you can do it too. Or like with the marathon, I joined a running group. With all of these things, I have been a part of a group, a team, and a tribe. And I think that's super important too, is to find those people in your own life, people that line up to, what you want to achieve, who you want to be, and surround yourself with those types of people.
I think that's absolutely true. And there's a lot of groups out there that really help people with a lot of different areas of their life, like Toastmasters and, people running groups are all over the place, or skiing groups, or, swimming groups, or whatever it is that you want to do. We are so fortunate to live in a world and a time when getting hold of people is so easy, and there's so many places now that you can go and you can ask for help and you can get help. And it's part of what made me want to produce this show, is to inspire people with some of the people in our world who are making a difference. And yes, they all have fear, that little, wiggly part of our brain that was our reptilian brain never kind of gave up, because it was what kept us alive back in the day when saber-toothed tigers were stalking us and things, and it said, don't move fast, don't move anywhere you can't see, don't go, don't do. Well, that worked really well back in the day when we were running from saber-toothed tigers. And, for reptiles, they couldn't move very far, or they'd get snapped up by somebody who was bigger and thought that they would be great for dinner. But it doesn't help very much when we are trying to learn to do public speaking, or trying to learn to run a marathon, or trying to learn to coach a group, or whatever it is that we want to do. So we have to recognize fear, I think, as it for what it is, which is that it's our protection mechanism. And, acknowledge that that's all it's trying to do, is tell you to be careful, that there could be danger out there. And, but then you've got all this large amount of brain that the reptiles didn't have to go, okay, well, we've looked around and what we've seen is that it's really nothing to be afraid of. So we're okay.
Right.
Let's go do it anyway. And, I hate acronyms anyway. I invite people to be part of my IHAC club because I do hate acronyms. And, when somebody says fear is false evidence appearing real, I want to choke them. There's nothing false about the evidence. What you see is that you see something you don't fully understand, and your reptilian brain has turned on. I don't know what it is. Great. But that's all it is. And it doesn't mean that you have to, and you can't ignore it. You've got to take it with you, It's never going to stop. Come on, let's go do it anyway.
Totally. And I love metaphor, I guess it would be, of fear as either the driver in your car that is your life, or you take the driver's seat and just tell, fear's in the back seat. It's there, like you said. It's going to be chattering away and saying all the things, but you're in control. You're driving the car. And the fear is the backseat, trying to be a backseat driver, but you can ignore it. You can literally choose, like, nope, I hear you. I understand you're trying to protect me. We got this. We got this. We're going forward. So.
And I totally agree. It's kind of an acknowledgement that, thanks for warning, but you're okay. We'll get through this together. Hang in. Let's go have some fun.
Absolutely.
I really want to thank you for a super interesting talk. And I hope people will find this, because that is so inspirational. You are an absolute inspiration for other people to live the life that they want to live. When you told me all the things that you did, and yet you're happy and you're making a living and you have time for your mom and everything works. And I went, well, so much for that story that you have to focus and do one thing,
It's funny. I just did a podcast called The Professional Rule Breaker. And I thought, yeah, because a lot of times they tell you just, one thing and to focus in. And sometimes that's fine. And I'm not knocking that for everybody, but we are individual people. And so it's a matter of kind of seeing what works for you, how you thrive, how you feel when you're doing multiple things or just one thing. And but there is something to be said for several streams of income as well, and not putting all of your eggs in one basket. So that's my 2 cents
people
on
learned that during the pandemic, that's for sure.
Exactly. That's a great point.
So definitely. Anyway, thank you so much. And remember, if you want to learn more about Janice, it's Janice Burt, B as in Bob, URT as in Tom.com. Janice, thank you so much. And keep smiling and keep going for it.